hit record here, and we're recording. So what we're going to talk about today is OneDrive. I think most of you, if not all of you, have at least heard the term OneDrive, and most of you are probably using it. Some of you are using it and may not even know that you're using it, and that's okay as well. So I want to start off talking about what OneDrive is and then clarify the difference between OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. And I'm going to go ahead and just, let's see, I'm going to see if I can mute everybody's mic here, if I can remember how to do that. And here we go. So I've muted all, but you can unmute yourself, okay? And I just did that to kind of cut down on some background noise. So if you guys want to say something with your mic muted, you have the ability to unmute yourself. So I encourage you to do that if you do have questions. So OneDrive is basically a cloud storage program. And I'll explain what cloud storage is. First of all, does anybody know, does that term still kind of leave some confusion to you of what cloud storage really means? Yes, no, maybe?
Cloud storage is where it's out in the clouds. It's out on the internet where you can pull down whatever you need.
Okay, yep, that's pretty close.
Sort of.
Yeah, Tina has an unfair advantage because I think we talked about cloud storage in another meeting before. But cloud storage is basically, as she said, it's something that's stored, maybe not necessarily locally, and by locally I mean stored on the spinning disk or on the disk there in your actual computer. It means that it's just simply stored somewhere else. You have access to it through an internet connection. And like we'll show here in OneDrive, you can have access to it permanently on your computer while you still have access to it over the internet. So there's somewhere at Microsoft has, I'm not really sure how many they have, but they have some very large data centers located. Most of these are located in the middle of nowhere on land that can be used for nothing other than supporting a building. And it's basically a building just full of spinning hard drives, and we're starting to see those move over to solid state hard drives and air conditioners, because as you can imagine, all of those computers and everything running under a metal roof can get pretty hot, so they've got to keep those things cool. So when we talk about cloud, it's not satellite driven, it's not up in the clouds with the sun and everything. It's just stored somewhere else that we have access to it over the internet. So hopefully that explains that a little bit. A couple of months ago, you probably heard the term OneDrive for Business. That seems to be Microsoft's new naming protocol. Is they have a product and then they add for business on the other end of it, and it adds some sort of some advantage or complexity to it. So there's a OneDrive Personal, and then there's a OneDrive for Business. OneDrive for Business, we all have OneDrive for Business accounts, and I'm going to have a session over Office 365 here coming up in a couple of weeks that I'll talk more about OneDrive for Business. But the OneDrive we're going to be covering today is OneDrive Personal. And the difference, one of the differences between the two is your OneDrive Personal account is solely your account. UT has nothing to do with that. Now, when we first started talking about OneDrive, it was called SkyDrive. And your UTK email address and password automatically synced with what was called SkyDrive at the time. When we switched over, or actually Microsoft kind of severed that connection, we switched over to Office 365, and now we have access. You're able to retain your OneDrive personal account, but now we have a OneDrive for Business account. So UT owns the OneDrive for Business account. The OneDrive personal account, UT has absolutely nothing to do with it. So you know, when we talk about OneDrive for Business, it'll be a matter of how you decide you want to store your files. We'll talk about more of that later. I don't want to confuse everybody right now. Just to give you an idea of how I'm using OneDrive and OneDrive for Business, right now I'm keeping all of my files, be it personal or work-related, in OneDrive Personal, the one that we're going to cover today. The reason that I'm doing that is when OneDrive for Business first launched, when we first kind of shifted over to it, there were some pretty big bugs in it, and it caused some pretty major problems. So we never really got to the point of pushing that out. There's some people that are testing it right now. I've got a test computer that I'm going to test it on to see if those bugs have kind of worked themselves out. The big advantage to OneDrive for Business is you have, right now you have a terabyte of storage, and that's about to shift to unlimited storage. So that's a big advantage, whereas OneDrive Personal, when you start out, you only have 15 gigabytes of storage, and that can be increased through a very small monetary exchange, or there's some other incentives that Microsoft gives for OneDrive that can add some storage. I'm at like 40 gigs of storage, and I have no idea how I got that high from 15. So I don't know what happened. Maybe somebody turned something on my account that they didn't mean to, but I'm not going to ask too many questions. So, but I'm only using 7 gigs of storage right now, even though I have 40. But I'm also keeping my photos off of OneDrive because photos can really eat up a lot of storage space. So, is that clear about kind of what OneDrive is? I mean, just on the surface, 30,000-foot view or whatever you want to call it. Any questions over that, or the difference between OneDrive and OneDrive for Business?
Brad, on the computers that we have at work, are they set up for the OneDrive or for the OneDrive for Business?
You may have OneDrive for Business that's worked its way in there through some updates and things like that. So I'm not going to say that you don't have that on your computer. And when I get into doing some screen sharing here, I'll show you the difference, how you can tell which icon. OneDrive came automatically on Windows 8.1. So if you've updated to Windows 8.1, you have the OneDrive application on your computer. If you don't have the application on your desktop, then it's definitely going to be on your start screen if you're on Windows 8. On Windows 8.1, it came on the start screen and in your file structure on your computer. So, you know, for me to say that everybody in here has OneDrive Personal on their computer right now may be a little bit of a stretch. They probably do, but I'm going to show you how you can tell. And I'm also going to show you, if you don't have it on your computer, how you can put it on your computer and why you would want to put it on your computer. All right, if there aren't any other questions, then I am going to jump into doing a screen share. And when I do this, I will have some ability to see your beautiful faces, but I will lose a lot of that. I'll try to keep up with chat. If you have questions, just unmute yourself and jump right in there and ask away. So let me, I'm going to share, let me move this screen over here. And I am going to share my desktop 2 or 1. I don't know which one that one is. If I share the wrong one, then I'll just have to, nope, that's not. What are you guys seeing right now? Nothing? Or like a background?
Your background's up.
Background
Okay.
of mountains.
And that's it. Okay. So right now, when I move this over, you'll see a Google Start page.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is go, and we're going to spend time working in OneDrive online, and then I'll show you in detail working with OneDrive locally on your computer. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to OneDrive, and that web address, you can simply Google this or Bing it or whichever search engine you prefer to use, but the address that you would go to would be OneDrive.live.com. Okay, so just OneDrive.live.com. That's how you sign in. So did that load pretty quick for you guys? Can you see this OneDrive website right now?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so it's pretty fast then. Sometimes some of our old video conferencing formats, the load time was pretty slow, so I think Zoom is kind of taking care of that for us. So when we go to OneDrive.live.com, we see here this login page with this nice picture and the mobile device indicating that we can get all of our files through OneDrive on any device anytime. So I am going to click, since I already have an account, and most of you guys already do have an account. If you are going to use your OneDrive Personal and you don't have an account, like some of the folks that may be new to the organization may not have a personal account, then you can simply click Sign Up. Or if you already have a Microsoft account through maybe you signed up through Microsoft for a Hotmail email address, or through an Xbox or something like that. If you have a Microsoft account, you can simply use that. Because the OneDrive personal accounts are not associated with our UTK accounts anymore, it really doesn't matter how you get into this. You can use any email address. You could even use your UTK email address if you wanted to. So I'm going to click on sign in. And when I sign in, it's going to say enter your email address. And since I've already entered it several times, I will just click, and you can see there that I'm inserting my UTK email address. So when I click on next, now it's going to give me the option, because that email address that I'm using is associated with two different accounts. I've got my personal OneDrive account that's associated with it, and I've also got my Office 365 account through UTK associated with it. So at this screen, and a lot of you guys are going to see this same thing if you go to the web interface here, you're going to see that you have to pick between OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. As I said, we're going to go OneDrive, which used to be called OneDrive Personal. I don't know if it's technically still called that, but it's going to be the OneDrive without the for business behind it. So I will click on OneDrive. And for whatever reason, it's going to ask me to sign in again, and that's good. I'm okay with that. I would rather sign in more times than need be so I can keep all of my stuff safe. So I will click sign in. And now we can see if it's the first time that you're coming to your OneDrive account and you don't have any files stored in OneDrive, then you'll see 3 folders. And I think those 3 folders will be public, documents, and then I think photos. I'm not entirely sure exactly what those are, but I know you will see three folders here by default. Since I've been using OneDrive and it was really going to be a hassle to create a brand new OneDrive account, I just decided to log in with my information and show you everything that I've got. So these are all of the files that I have in the world today. The great thing about using OneDrive and about storing all of my documents in OneDrive is, if I decide that one day I've had a horrible day and I stop at the bridge going to my house and I just toss this computer off in the river because it's just been that kind of day, once I do somehow convince Jim to get me a new computer, all I have to do is go to OneDrive and download my files. So anything at all, if my computer was stolen or anything like that, I could still get to my files. I could still have access to my files and not really miss a beat. So it acts as a backup for me. Now we all have brand new, fresh backups that we need to make sure that we're using there in the office, but this is kind of a safety net. So I like that aspect of it. I like the fact that when I get a new computer, not only does it back up my files, but it also backs up my Windows 8.1 settings. So literally, when I get a new computer, when I sync it to OneDrive, my settings and my files are all right there, just like it takes the setting up of a new computer kind of and makes it a lot easier. So, but just to give you some ideas of some navigation here around the web app, over here to your far left in the top corner there, we see 9 little squares there, a little icon that's got 9 little squares, and that will allow me to switch between different Microsoft apps. So I can see here, I'll just click on this Outlook.com just to show you, this is my personal OneDrive account, or my personal Microsoft account. You can see here, this has, if this was my current inbox, you guys would scoff at me for all of the unopened emails that I have that have come in this morning. But this is my personal account. There's only 2 emails. I don't even know really what email address this account is associated with. We can see that these 2 emails are from 2013 and then 2012. So haven't used this in a while. So yeah, I'm just showing you this to show you that you do have different options that you can get to. OneDrive obviously is where we're going to go back, but you have a calendar here that you can use. The Office products online, which is really nice. Let's say that you're visiting family, or you're at a friend's house, or maybe you're at a public library on their computer or something like that, Microsoft has given us the ability to be able to work with their office applications of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and OneNote if you use that, without having to have those programs installed locally on our computer. So that's really nice. I know when I go home to my parents' house, they don't really have a need to purchase the program anymore, Microsoft Office, because they can use these products online. And I think Microsoft probably did this in response to some of the other companies or other companies providing some online type word processors and spreadsheet creators and things like that. So really nice. So that's what this little grid square icon will do for us up there. I'm going to click on OneDrive just to get back to our OneDrive and close some of these folders out here. It seems anytime you click on any of this stuff, it's going to open in a new tab, which is not the worst thing that could happen. I know it's frustrating when it opens on top of itself and you can't seem to get back to where you were going. The create here, so this OneDrive, that really doesn't do anything. That's just where we are. The create, if I click on the drop down here, I can do a couple different things. I could make a new folder if I wanted to. I could create a new Word document, a new Excel workbook, new PowerPoint presentation. I can work in OneNote. This Excel survey, I've never done anything with it, but I do plan to play with that to see kind of what the benefits are of that. That could really come in handy for some of the things that we do here in Extension. So I'm going to play with that, and I'll be sure and send out a note about that if I find that to be pretty helpful. But I know a lot of what we do in Extension is survey. So if this could take some load off of what some of our folks do, then it definitely would be worth exploring. And then just a plain text document, like if you were wanting to make just a quick note or something like that. So we can do all of that right here in the web interface just by clicking on Create. If for whatever reason, again, using the scenario that if we're somewhere that we've created a Word document, or there's a document or a picture or a PDF or something like that that's on a computer that we don't have synced with our OneDrive account, we can upload. And if I click the upload, I can either upload files or I can upload entire folders. So again, let's say that you're at a friend's house and they want to share a folder of documents or a folder of pictures, or maybe an individual picture or an individual PDF, and you don't want to email it to yourself. You can go ahead and store it and upload it directly to your OneDrive account. And if you have this thing synced with your computer, then the next time you log into your computer, it will pull that document or that picture or that folder down, and you'll have access to it locally. So really, really neat way to do that. Continuing on over, the little voice or the little text box here. Again, I have no idea how I set this up, but I've got my mom and Dr. Cross. I guess arguably two of the most important people in the world to me, my mom and my main boss. So I guess it's good to have those. If I was going to have anybody in this list, I guess those two are pretty good ones to have. I don't know. I guess it's connected through regular Skype, not Skype for business. So anyway, I've never used that, never really planned to use that, but I just wanted to show you what that is. The gear icon, if I click on the gear icon, then this will allow me to adjust some settings. And I just want to go in here real quick to show you what you're looking at here. So the first window that pulls up here is your storage plan. So right now, as I said, I've got 40 gigabytes of storage. You get 15 free right off the bat. I got an enthusiast bonus. I'm not really sure what that is, but those are 3. And 15 of these came when I got my new phone. I used or I allowed my photos to be synced with OneDrive. And by doing that, it gave me 15 gigabytes. So that's where 15, so that gets me to 30. Paid plan bonus. I don't pay currently for a plan, but I guess they felt the need to give it to me anyway. So again, I'm not going to ask too many questions. I'll just fly under the radar and see what I can get by with. But as you can see, even with 40 gigabytes total used here, I'm still only using just over 7. So I'm still in pretty good shape. Even if I just had the free plan, I would still be in pretty decent shape. I would still have half of the available storage left for me. If I wanted to buy storage, I could click here, and their storage is really cheap. So, if for whatever reason, let's say that in a couple weeks you come to or you attend the Office 365 training, and we talk about OneDrive for Business, and you say, yeah, I really think I'm going to put all of my work-related files in OneDrive for Business, but I'm going to keep all of my personal files and photos and stuff in my OneDrive account. And let's say that you bump up against that 15 gigabyte limit with all of the pictures of family and friends and such. Their storage plans are really, really cheap. I think for like $1 a month, you can double your storage amount. So for $12 a year, you could store all of your stuff online and not lose it if something happened to your computer, and have the ability to share those files with anybody that you wanted to. And we'll talk more about sharing later. In fact, if I click on this plans tab here, then we can see that 100 gigabytes is $199 a month. So that's $24. That would be pretty pretty good there. That's not a very high price. So office file formats, you guys won't have to worry about that. Tagging, this deals with photos. Again, I'm not going to really get into that today. And then device backups. This is something when you set up your account or when you set up your computer, or when Christina set up your computer, chances are your device is going to be backed up to your SkyDrive. Pretty sure it does it by default. I think you actually have to go in and manually turn that off. So if you've not turned that off, then it should be backing up. Back when I was doing some testing on a Microsoft Surface and doing some testing on the Dell tablet, I had 3 different devices here. So basically what that meant was it was backing up those settings from all 3 of those devices to share across those devices. Right now, the only Microsoft computer that I have, or the only PC that I'm using, is the one that I'm currently on. So that's the only one that's showing up here as being backed up. So, and that's just backing up your Windows 8 settings. So, and lastly here, let me just go back to our OneDrive file view. If I click on my name right here, the available or invisible, if you did have folks that you were connected with, it would show whether you're available to chat or not to chat, so you can use this as a way to chat with other folks. I could edit my profile, and in that I could edit my picture. And based on what you guys are seeing on the camera right now, I had a little more hair during this picture, so maybe it's appropriate for me to go ahead and change that. I can also change my account settings. Now, when I click on account settings, this is going to take me to my main Microsoft account. So no longer am I just simply going to adjust the OneDrive account settings. This is my main Microsoft account. So when you're adjusting this, then you're actually adjusting your Microsoft account. So be aware of that this did take us to our Microsoft account homepage. We can add billing and payment options. You can see some history, things like that. So I'm not really sure where's the smoke is, but I guess I bought it for $2.99. So backing up here back to our OneDrive. And then lastly, the last thing you can do here is sign out. So when I sign out, then it just logs me out. So nothing really important to see there. And any questions so far before I get into because the next things that I'm going to show you here are going to be actually the interface of how you're viewing these documents. So
Brent, how often are we supposed to back up does the computer just automatically back up? Like mine said 5.1 for the backup device. Should that be backing up every day, or should I be manually doing that?
No, it'll automatically do that, and usually it only does it when there's changes that are made. Okay. So like mine was done yesterday, and I'm not sure what I did to trigger a backup, and I could be wrong on this, but it doesn't have to be done every day because it's backing up things like your background picture, the background picture or the theme that you have on your start screen, things like that. It's not backing up, vital information. It's not like, the malware update that we do want to run every day.
Okay. So if we if we changed a document, it would back up as soon as it changed the document. That part would be different. That file would be backed up. It's different from the device backup.
Yes. Now, if you change the document, it's going to update here in the document storage area. As far as your device backup, I don't think that will trigger a backup. I really think it has to be something that's involved with your Windows 8 environment or your Windows 8.1 environment. You know, changing a username, changing a password, adding a new background picture to your desktop, adding a new background picture to your start screen, you know, different things like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before I proceed? Okay. Well, starting back with I'll just start kind of here on the right-hand side, and we'll go left this time. So this first little icon here that looks kind of grayed out, but I can click on it. When I click on that, that's the properties panel. Right now, I don't have anything selected, so there's not really anything to show here. So it's just going to show me how many items or folders. I may have some loose. Yeah, I got a couple of loose things going on here. But that's showing me that I have 71 items in this main OneDrive folder. Okay, so we'll look at that device pane or that properties pane a little bit more, especially when we get into sharing. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, just toggle that off. So toggling that on and off, just clicking this little button here. Right now, I have the grid view activated. If I like a list view a little bit more, then I can click that, and then I get a list view in alphabetical order. I do like the grid view, so I'm going to go back there. I can sort by the name of the folder, or I can sort by the date modified, date created. I can sort by the size. I can do ascending or descending. Rearrange, I guess, would allow me to arrange it in a different way. I'm not going to click that, but so different ways you can sort here. Moving over here to the far left side, the search. Now, one of the greatest things that I loved about Windows 8 was the search ability. In Windows 7, you had that ability to search, but it was somewhat clunky. And starting in Windows 8 and improved even in Windows 8.1, the search ability that we have is amazing. If you type a keyword in this search box, it's going to try to find a folder with that keyword in it, and if it can't find a folder, it's going to, with the title, the folder title. If it can't find a folder title, then it's going to look for a document title. If it can't find a document title, then it's going to look for that word inside of a document. And then it's going to return that keyword document based on how soon that word is found in the document. So it's a really powerful search. So if you're like me and you know that you've created a training that covers XYZ, but you can't remember where you put it or what file you stored it in, or if you've downloaded something and you can't find it anywhere, you can come to the search and type the words here, and it's going to help find it for you. Kind of moving down now, recent documents. That's just going to pull up a list of recent documents that you've worked on. I don't know how accurate this is going to be. Yeah, so it's pulling up a lot of my OneNote files here. So it's pretty accurate, even though I did not do anything with these files on the computer. All of these files that it's showing here as recent, I actually worked on my desktop. I didn't do them on the internet. So it's even looking at the most recent files that I've interacted with on my computer. So you don't have to, this being that I sync everything, it literally syncs everything, even the last time that I opened it or worked in that document or anything. So really neat aspect there. Photos, since I do have some photos synced up here, you can see photos. This is pretty random. These are from my phone, but I've taken several more photos than this. So there's my dog all stretched out at the vet, and some home renovation projects that I've been working on, which I am taking volunteers to help finish. You can see I started in February and I'm still working on it. So if anybody is bored and would like to come to Nashville, I would even be willing to buy you a cup of coffee. So I'll go back to OneDrive and look at shared. Now, when I click on shared, and again, sharing is one of the neatest aspects of OneDrive, and I'm definitely going to get into that here in just a little bit. But when I click on shared, it's going to show items that I have shared with other people. So there's 7 items here that I've shared with other people. And then it's going to show items that have been shared with me. So Stephen Shirley shared a folder called Pictures that gave me edit ability. And he did this during a training that we were working on. So anytime you share a document or somebody shares anything with you, you can come to this shared and take a look at it. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to unshare one of these documents. So let's say that this IT team leader underscore, well, I better not unshare that one. Let's say this document here. So if I click on it, it's going to take me to this PowerPoint online. If I look here, actually, folks, sorry, forget I did that. If I just check this box and then click on the properties pane, let me close out that PowerPoint. So you don't even have to open it. If I just check the box to indicate that I've selected this PowerPoint document and then select the properties pane, then I can click any, or I can see that I'm sharing this with anyone that has this view link. So anybody that I sent this link to can view this document. If I click on the share, then it's gonna, and then click on this anyone with a link, you can see here I can remove the link. And this will make a little more sense when we get into the sharing. But I did just want to mention here, in case I forgot, you can remove sharing very easily. If I remove that link and then click close, and now we can see it automatically refreshes so that now that document is not shared with anybody. The people that had that link, if they try to access that document, they wouldn't be able to access it anymore. So, but that's the shared, and again, we'll get more into that. So don't worry too much about that. The recycle bin, really neat thing about the recycle bin is if you delete something here online in your OneDrive, it's going to keep it in there for 30 days. So, and anything you delete is going to go into the recycle bin. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything you delete is going to go into the recycle bin, and you have 30 days to get it back out. After 30 days, it does a flush, and it'll clean out that recycle bin, and that's per document. So if I deleted a folder or a document today, and then a document tomorrow, then those would be, it's 30 days from the point that it enters the recycle bin. Down here at the bottom, we can get more storage, and I showed you how to do that through your account settings up here. And then we also have Get OneDrive apps. So if for some reason you don't have OneDrive on your computer and you want it, you can come here and click Get OneDrive apps. And when you click that, then it recognizes that I'm automatically on a Windows machine. So here's where I can download for Windows 7 and 8. So I would just click download here. And as we can see, Windows comes pre-installed on Windows 8.1, and Windows is not supported on Windows XP. If you're using a Windows XP machine, I highly, highly encourage you to get that updated to at least Windows 7. There should be no Windows XP machines operating in our network, but if you have one personally, I really encourage you to upgrade that operating system. So that's just a public service announcement there. Okay, so the basic interface, the buttons to click, things like that. What questions do you guys have before we actually get down to working with some files here? Okay. Being that there aren't any questions, we are going to work with some basic files. I'm not really going to create, well, yeah, I'll go ahead and create anything. So the first thing, we'll just start kind of from the bare bones, and let's say that I want to create a Word document. Now, the neat thing about the Microsoft Online Office products is it's basically the same. I mean, they've done a really good job of making this look very similar to how your desktop Word program is going to look. Test in MS Word. So you could type anything in here just like you could on your desktop application. There's the same icons, the same ribbon. All of that stuff is really close to being the same. When I want to save this, I can just go to File and then Save As. And I can save, let's see, I don't know that I named it, so I better name it. And I'm going to name this 1_test. And I'm just putting the 1 there because so that it'll show up first, so I'll know to come in and delete it. I'm bad about doing stuff like this in training situations and not remembering to come back and delete it. So this will allow it to show up. So I'll go back to File, Save As, and I'm going to save. Let's see. Save as, and it's going to let me put it wherever I want to put it. Right now, if I did it with just the Brad Greenfield's OneDrive selected, it's going to store it in that folder. And so if I wanted to put it in a folder, then I could click any of these folders. If I expand this little arrow, then it's going to allow me to pick the actual subfolders of that if I wanted to. I'm just going to put it in this main top folder and click Save. And click Save. Okay, so when I'm done with that, it's still spinning up here, so I'm going to give it time to kind of finish saving. When I'm done with that, I will close this and go back here. And if I scroll down, then we can see, well, I saved 2 versions. So either way, I can see here that I have that file here in my OneDrive. I didn't put it in a folder, so it showed up here at the top level. To delete those, I can just right-click or click the checkbox if I want to delete both of these files, and go into Manage and click Delete. And it's going to send both of those to the recycle bin. It gives me one last opportunity to say I don't want to, and I can say yes, I want to delete, and be done with it. And I can still undo. I think like 5 minutes or something, or a couple seconds, I guess. And it just showed me I can do an undo. But if I wanted to get those back, I could go back into my recycle bin, and those are going to be the first 2 items. They're listed here. Eventually, yep. Well, I said first 2. I guess maybe they're in alphabetical order. Well, I don't know where they are. Well, there's a lot of stuff here. So I guess I need to clean out my recycle bin. I'll go back to my files, but they're in there. I assure you they're in there. So when I am, let's say that I want to move some folders. So let's say down here, if I wanted to move this IT Team Leader PowerPoint presentation, if I want to move this into my strategic planning folder, which is right here, I can just left click on this document and drag it just like I would on my PC and drop it in that strategic planning. And we can see here we get a notification moving IT Team Leader PowerPoint to strategic planning. Sure enough, if I click on that, there it is. And then I can move it again to a different folder if I wanted to do that. When I click inside of a folder, you can see my little breadcrumbs here. So I'm inside my strategic planning folder, which is inside Brad's OneDrive folder. So to get back to the top level, I could either click the back button, or I could use these breadcrumbs here and click to go back to my main file page. I can even, let's say, for example, that I wanted to move an entire folder into another folder. So I could even take this folder here and drop it on another folder, and it's going to put it inside of that folder. I'm not going to do that because that's I'll forget to come in, and I'll be looking for this one Adobe file and not be able to find it. But you can drag these and drop them anywhere you want to. You can see if I need to go out of view, I can scroll down or up to get to what's out of view, and drop that folder inside of another folder if I wanted to. Another way that I can move these, so there's, just like any Microsoft product, there's 15 different ways to do the same thing. Let's say that I wanted to put this testing from PC into a folder. I can do a right click on it. So I'm just right clicking, and I can do several things here. I can open in Word. I can open in Word Online. I could download it to my computer if I wanted to. I can share it. I could embed it. I played with that. It's not really much to do with that. I thought that would be kind of a neat thing for our SharePoint websites, but didn't really work out the way that I wanted it to. I could rename it. I could delete it. I could move it or copy it to. I can look at version history, or I can check out properties. So I'm just going to click on Move To. Actually, I'm going to do this with the mileage link because I'm going to use this testing from PC for something else. So I'll right click on that, select Move To. And just like what we saw before, it's going to give me my file structure here. So all of my folders at the top level that I have are listed right here. So I can just click on a folder and say move, and I'm going to get an indicator here moving mileage links to admin. So I've moved that folder here to the admin folder, and we can see there it is. Okay. Let's see. Copy to. So if I do a copy to, and I'm going to copy this one to this admin folder as well. What that does, it keeps this file in the original location. So it's in the top level OneDrive folder. When I did a right click and copy to, it then sent a copy of that file. Well, sent a copy of that file here to the admin file. So there's the same exact file that I had at the top level was now copied into this OneDrive. So instead of moving it or into this admin folder, instead of moving it, it made a copy and stuck it in here. As I showed you before with that PowerPoint that we removed sharing from, when I check this box here, if I click on the properties pane, then that comes up and tells me everything that I need to know about this file. It's a Microsoft Word document. It was modified a moment ago by me. It was added a moment ago by me. The path, so it's showing me that it's in Brad's OneDrive, admin, and then the file name. So that's the actual path of the file, and it even gives me the size. So let's say, and if I didn't want to use this property pane over here, I could simply right click on it and click on properties as well. So that's going to give me the same kind of view there. So let's say that I do want to share this, and I'm going to share this with Kay. I'm not sure if she's at her computer right now or where she can, she doesn't really have to accept it, but if she wants to maybe type on it a little bit, she could. I don't know if she will or not. I didn't really go over this with her beforehand. So, but I'm going to, if I wanted to share this, I could click on share. There's a couple different things we can do here. It says invite people to testingfrompc.docx. And that testing from PC, that's just the name of the file. I was doing some testing with something and just created a very basic Word document. So I can enter the context to send an email to with link to this item. If I wanted to, I could connect my Facebook account to OneDrive. I don't really want to do that. So if I didn't want to enter email addresses, which I could enter AVRIT, I could enter Kay's email address here, and I could keep entering people if I wanted to. So that's me. Let's see. Look, I could send it to Tina. So anybody, and it's somehow pulling up all these Tennessee. I don't know if I did something to sync all of that. I'd be interested to know if you guys have that same kind of response there as I'm typing in. Yeah, it's not recognizing Christina. Maybe if I type in her name. Yep. No. Yeah, no, it's not pulling in Christina. So I'm not sure where it's pulling that from, but I was able to get Kay's, myself, and Tina's name in here. I could add thanks for reviewing this doc. So the great thing about sharing these documents is, let's say that you have 3 or 4 people working on the same document. It really functions like SharePoint team sites. So we could put a document up here and then share it with people. The beautiful thing about this is they don't have to work for our organization to be able to access it. We could send this to anybody that we wanted to, and they would have access to it. Now, the key thing to remember here is they're only going to have access to that one file. They're not going to have access to your folders or the other files that are in that folder or anything. It's just going to be to this one file. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, let's say that I didn't know email addresses. Well, that's easily fixed with get a link. So when I click on get a link, I have a couple of options here. I can change this from edit to view only. So let's say I just wanted somebody simply to review something. I could change it to view only. I could make it editable, or I could make it public. And when I make something public, that means anybody could see it. So there's a public folder that people can access. I don't really have anything in that, but usually, or the only thing I either do is view only or edit. Most of the time, if I'm sharing this with somebody, then I'm anticipating them doing a little bit of editing or something. So I always click on the edit. So then I can do a create link. And all I would have to do at this point is copy this link. So right click and copy, and then I could open up an email and paste this link into that email and send it to them, and then they could open that that document there. I could also shorten the link if I wanted to do that. And okay, so now we have a shorter link if you needed a shorter link. And let's say, so this link is anyone with this link or with this edit link can access this file. Let's say that I need another file that does not allow people to edit. So if I click on create another link, then I can leave that as view only and create the link. So now I have two links, two different links. Anyone with this top link here can, anybody with this top link can view the file. Anybody with the bottom link can edit the file. So we have two very different links that we can decide how to share this file and things like that. And the really neat thing is if somebody does edit the file, it will show you when you open the document where that other person has edited. So it's a really, really good collaboration tool. I know a lot of you folks have things going on that cross county lines, or even within your own county there. If you wanted to share documents with coworkers this way, so that you could work on these collaboratively, maybe you prefer this interface over SharePoint team sites for whatever reason. It's a really easy way to go about doing this. Let's say you get to the point to where you don't want anybody to see this document anymore, and you've sent this to a few people. You can come in here and just click remove link, and it's going to remove that view link, and you could even remove the edit link if you wanted to. So I'm going to add one of those links back and then click close. So we can see here with this document checked, now I can see over here that first of all, it's showing that anybody with that link can edit this document. And it gives me a little more information here, and there's even a place here where comments. So if, let's say that I did send this to Kay and she had some comments, looks good, may want to change the first sentence or something like that, then I can see all these comments here. Or even better example, let's say that Kay and I are working on this document together and she adds a paragraph. She may write a comment that says, hey Brad, I added the third paragraph. Take a look at it. I'm not really sure it's what you wanted. But I thought it sounded good. So she could let me know, if I'm remotely working or somewhere where I'm out of the office, she can let me know what she did and when she did it. And when I pull that document up, I'm going to see what she had done, and it's going to be indicated on the sheet that somebody else had edited the document. But a comment's a good way for me to know when I open the document what we're going to be looking at. Any questions so far? We've covered kind of a lot here on moving documents around, copying documents, and this is all in the online interface. We're going to do this exact same thing on our computer next. So any questions that you guys may have right now?
Brad, let me ask and make sure I understand. If I'm working with my FCE council, which they would not, I would have their addresses. I could actually send them a link to a document and let all of them proof it and make any changes that needed to be made before I send it out to the entire FCE clubs. Would that work?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this can be a Word document, it could be a PowerPoint document, it could be an Excel document. So any one of those, absolutely.
So even if they don't have those programs necessarily on their computer, they could still access it through this link to OneDrive.
Yes, and what they would do when they opened it up, they would just be looking at the, let's say it was a Word document, for example, Edie. If they opened that Word document, it would just open in the Microsoft Online Word program.
Okay. And then the changes would automatically come back to my OneDrive to sync them.
Yes, the changes would be on that computer or on that document. So when you open this document, like if any changes were made, when I open this document, there would be an indicator out here somewhere that would say, that would have a name. I think it's got initials maybe, and it kind of wraps what was changed. And then again, if there were any comments made, then you would get to see all those comments. So if I were you,
Give them some instructions when I send it.
yeah.
But still, that would be a plus for being able to get in touch with all of the club officers at one time and get all of them to feed back at the same time.
What it does, it would keep you from having to email that document to one person, letting them make changes, saving it back on your computer, sending it to another person, letting them make changes. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So then you could throw it out there. They could all work on it together. And then when you get it back, when they say, let's say you send it to them and you said, please have this wrapped up in 5 days. You come back in the next Monday, you open it up, they're done, you're ready to go to print and distribute that thing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, I didn't mean to click on that. Let me close some of this down. Okay. All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, then I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I am going to go to the desktop version of all of this. So let me just do a stop here. And you guys still with me, or have I put anybody to sleep yet?
So far, I think we're all with you.
All right, good deal. If you needed to take a nap, I would not be offended at all. I may take a nap here before this thing's done with. All right, let me share this, just my regular desktop here. That's not that one. I don't think it's that one either. Okay, you guys seeing my desktop here with my icons and everything over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the things that I want to show you first of all is in your file structure. So what I did was I'm just clicking on my Windows Explorer or File Explorer or whatever you want to call it here, this little folders icon. When I do that, I can scroll up and see. Let me minimize it so we can see it a little bit better. So I have OneDrive here. Now, if you guys aren't seeing OneDrive in your document structure like this, then you may not have the application on your computer. The way that you could make sure is by going into your file or your programs and looking and see if OneDrive is in there. If it's not, then I showed you where you can download the application. But on Windows 8.1, it comes automatically in here, okay? So it adds a folder here for me to work in. What I did, just so that, we're used to storing all of our files and everything into our documents folder in the library. That's traditionally where we've stored all of our files. So to make that even more consistent for me and to wrap my head around and deal with my OCD when it comes to file storage, I included my OneDrive folder inside of my documents library. So what I mean by that is if I go to my documents library, which is traditionally where we store all of our documents, hopefully that's where we're storing all of our documents. If I double click on that, and I can see here, now you'll notice that mine is still called SkyDrive. What happened is I had SkyDrive on this computer before it switched names to OneDrive. Somewhere deep in the registry, deep enough to where I don't even want to mess with it, it still calls it SkyDrive. It's still the same thing. It works the same. I've had no issues. It's just the name that it gives it here in my local environment. So don't let that throw you off. It drove me crazy for a while, and eventually I just gave up and said if it wants to be called OneDrive or SkyDrive, I'll let it be called whatever it wants. So basically my OneDrive folder has two identities, all in the same thing. But it's not a big deal. It's just a name. All the contents within it, which is what's important to me, are the same, and everything's fine with that. So, don't worry about any of that stuff. Everything is good with that name. Now, you guys won't have to worry about that because you're probably seeing OneDrive here. But if this is something that interests you, if you would like to move this OneDrive folder into your documents library, that's very easy to do. The only thing that you'll have to do is right-click on that OneDrive folder and then down here where it says include in library, then you would just click the documents and it's going to include it in there. Now obviously I'm not going to click that because mine is already in there. But when I do that, it will still leave your OneDrive folder here for you, but it also puts a copy of it inside of your documents library. And we can see there it's called SkyDrive in this, but again, don't let that trip you up. It's not a big deal. It's just the name that it's given itself here on this computer because I did have SkyDrive. So so that's how you would include that in your documents library. Now let me go into OneDrive here, and I am going to see if I can find some.
Brad,
Yes.
will it be the same? Will it update and be the same thing in each of those locations of OneDrive?
Yes. Yeah. So what's in here?
It won't matter. It's just how you're going to navigate to it.
That's exactly right. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So if I created a new folder in here, let me just do it. Right click and new folder and one. I'm just going to name it one so it puts it at the top. So we can see here that I'm in this folder here. Now if I scroll down and go to my documents library, we can see right there is that folder I just created. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't matter how you get to it. It's all going to be the same. Now I will say, while we're on that, anything that is not stored in one of these OneDrive locations. So if I don't put it in this folder here that says OneDrive, or if I move this to my document libraries and I don't put it in this folder that says OneDrive, well, probably says OneDrive on your computer, it's not going to be synced online. So if I want to be able to access these files online, or any of these files or anything that I do, if I want to be able to access it online, I need to make sure that I'm putting these files in this OneDrive folder, okay? It's not going to find, like if you had a folder here on your desktop that you name something, like none of this stuff here on my desktop is going to, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that. Okay, there we go. Any of these files or anything here on the desktop is not going to show up in OneDrive. Anything that I put, if I created another folder inside of my documents library, it's not going to show up on OneDrive. It has to be inside the OneDrive folder, okay? So let me go into, try to find something. First of all, let me make this full size. Actually, let me go into OneDrive. Okay, notice the difference here. So even though it's the same folder, the view is a little bit different. When I click on the OneDrive file here, I get the name, date modified, type, size, and availability. When I click on it down here in my document library, it's just laid out a little bit different. I could change that view if I wanted to, let's see, details. So even in the details view, it's still not giving me that availability option, okay? So that availability option lets me know that this is the raw OneDrive folder. But again, it doesn't matter. Whatever I put in here is going to show up in here, and whatever I put in here is going to show up in here. So just be aware of that. But this availability, I want to call your attention to that. Let me see if I can find, I think I have most of mine marked, but you may see from time to time that this availability says online only. I just don't think I have anything that says that. So what it does, in an effort to store or to retain your storage space there on your computer, it will try to default to saving, or it may default to saving, to keeping copies of these files online only. That means that you would have to have internet access to get to those files. That's not good for me. I want to be able to, let's say our network goes down, or maybe I'm on a plane or something like that. I want to be able to get to my files and work on them whenever I want to, whenever I may need to. If I'm offline and I make some changes, as soon as I get a connection again, it'll push those changes back up to the OneDrive web app. So the best way to go about changing that is to go to, there's two ways you can do it. You could actually right click on this OneDrive account, on this OneDrive folder, and you could, let's see, we could click the option here that says make available offline. You can also see the option there to make available online only. So if you had so many files that you were just running into a storage issue, you could definitely change this. But I'd recommend going ahead and making them offline. So I could do that here, or I could go into my full the actual OneDrive application and make those settings. And the way that I would do that is by scrolling down here to the bottom right-hand side where my task tray is, clicking this little upward-facing arrow, and we can see that OneDrive Personal has little blue clouds, and OneDrive Business, or sorry, little white clouds. OneDrive Business has little blue clouds. Leave it to Microsoft to make things just different enough to cause confusion, right? So OneDrive Personal, little white clouds. OneDrive Business, little blue clouds. That's really the only way you're going to know the difference there. So if I right-click on OneDrive Personal and then go to Settings, once it calculates, we can see here it says calculating. I can just check this box here that says make all files available even when this PC isn't connected to the internet. Click OK, and then I don't have to worry about it. You can see now all of these files have changed to availability being available offline. So I've just corrected that issue of possibly not being able to get to my files when I don't have an internet connection. You may see after doing that, you may see some sync. I don't know if you guys can see that or not right now with those little blue arrows that are on the corner of that OneDrive icon. And when I mouse over it, you can see downloading 0.0 kilobytes out of, what did it say, out of 1.1 gigabytes. That means that I had 1.1 gigabytes stored on OneDrive that were not stored here locally on my computer. So I've just fixed that. That means that now, no matter what kind of connection I have, I can get to those files on my computer. So that's the fix for that. Sharing documents. So let me go in here, and I'm going to create a Word document. That deserves an exclamation point. Okay, so I'm going to create this Word document. I'm going to save it in that #1 file that I just created, okay? So I go to File and Save As. So this is the other thing that you're going to see. When you save a file, it can get a little confusing, especially when you have OneDrive, OneDrive Personal, all this other stuff going on. OneDrive Personal is where I'm putting all of my documents. However, when I'm on my computer, I've found it to be, and it's just a few seconds quicker, but I found it to be quicker just to go ahead and store it to my computer. Now, it's going to the same place, but because I'm storing it to my computer, it's going to access that file structure locally before it accesses that file structure from OneDrive. So I'll click on my computer, I'll go to Browse, and what I'm going to do is just make sure that I'm inside of my OneDrive folder. Okay, and then I'm going to click on that little one folder there, and I'm going to change the name of this to Test, and click Save. Okay, can you guys see this? And you got to look quick. Let me try to get it again. I'm going to click the Save button. I'm actually going to add a sentence. Okay. Now watch down here kind of in the lower right-hand side. When I click Save, well, first of all, you can notice that the Save icon now has these little arrows on it. So what that means is when I save this file, it's going to sync it with OneDrive. And it happens, I don't want to say real time, but near real time. So when I click Save here, you can see a little uploading to OneDrive, so it's kind of working in the background. It happens that fast. If I pulled OneDrive over, which I think I can probably do here, and I go to OneDrive, and there's the folder 1 that I just created. When I click in here, now notice I said near real time. Well, it's going slow. Leave it to the point where you need it to go fast for it to not go fast at all. And it could be because it's still trying to download all that other stuff, but it will get pushed there eventually. So bad example, but it happens quick, a lot quicker than you would think that it would. So you guys still with me?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, we all are, I think.
Okay, I didn't hear anything for a while, and there was a green box where I didn't think the green box should have been, so I want to make sure. Okay, so we've got our file created. I showed you how to save it. I showed you how to move your OneDrive folder into your document libraries. I talked about sharing online. We can also share from right here inside of our Microsoft Office applications. So you don't have to, Edie, in the scenario you were talking about, you don't have to go online to share that. We can actually go to File. So I'm just in and this would be the same in Excel and PowerPoint and Word. There's no other web application for any other Microsoft Office program, so it's got to be a Word, Excel, or PowerPoint program. If I click on File and then go to Share, we can see we have some of the same options. Obviously, it looks a little bit different, but it's still the same. And, instead of typing email addresses and stuff, anytime I'm sharing something like this, I always default to just getting a share link. To me, it's easier. Then I can go to Outlook where I have the email addresses previously saved, and I can just put that information in there and kind of be done with it. So if I click on Get Sharing Link, we can see here I can get a view link or I can get an edit link just by clicking these two options here. So when I click that, there's my link. I click this one, there's my link. So now it's showing me here that there's shared links that are out there. If I disable the link, like let's say I disabled the share link, then we're going to see that refreshes and that link goes away. So it's going to tell me on this document what's going on with it, that I have a link out there that anybody with that link can edit this document. And you really don't have to worry about anybody just magically figuring this out. They would have to, if they figured out this exact link here with all these characters and everything, they should probably go play the lottery. Not that we have anything that's overly sensitive, but I know that is of concern, and I did want to mention that they purposely put this key in there that's long enough and has enough different characters to where it would keep your documents safe, even though people with that link can still access it. So you can feel pretty safe in that regards. All right, so any questions here? Oh, one last thing. Martin came to me a couple of months ago and said, hey, Brad, when I close a document, it's creating a copy of the document in the folder when it's syncing to OneDrive. And I couldn't figure out what was going on, but then I noticed that it started doing the same thing to me. So I would have let's say, for example, the name of this document is test.docx. I noticed that if I close the document out pretty quick after saving, or before saving after changes were made, it would add another document that had my computer name underscore test.docx or whatever the name of the document was. And I found out that if you close a document down prior, like if I save it and I close it down immediately, so if I went and clicked on the save icon and then closed it down right after, what's happening is Microsoft Word is, just in case they think, okay, the save is not registering. So in an effort to keep me safe, which I need all the help I can get, in an effort to keep me safe, it's going to make another copy. It's going to save another copy of that file just in case you forgot to save it. So it's really kind of a good aspect, but you may notice that. So what I do now, when I save a document, I'll give it, 2 or 3 seconds to make sure it's saved, and then I'll close it out. So if you ever see that you're seeing duplicates created of a document, then just pay attention to how quick you're closing that document before you or right after you save it. Or if you came to a document, made a bunch of changes, forgot to save it, and closed it out, Microsoft Word's going to save a copy of that. I don't really know if it's Word doing it or if it's actually OneDrive that's doing it for you. But that's what's going on there. So that confused me for a little bit, and I just wanted to point that out to you guys. So any questions working with these documents here in the desktop environment?
Let me ask one question on that last issue. If you end up with 2 copies of the same file, which one do you want to open, or do you want to delete one of the two? Because that can get confusing if you're going down through there and you don't know which one you've saved most recently, or you've opened both of them and made changes on both of them.
Yeah, I would delete the one that it created for me, and it's obvious. I can't remember. I think I've gone through and cleaned all of mine out. I can't remember. Well, let me just try this. See if I can get it to do it. It probably won't do it because I told it not to save.
I think mine always says like admin or something like that on the front of it. So
yeah. And where did I save this thing at? Well, I didn't save it, so it didn't save it. Yeah, it literally did not save it. Okay, let me try something again. Wait, I did save it though. Where did it save to? I guess you guys are thinking, well, if he doesn't know, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I just saved it in my OneDrive. I didn't put it in the folder. Okay, so let me open it back up and add a sentence. And I'm just going to click save and then close it before it gets a chance to save. And refresh. Watch, I won't be able to get it to do it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm having trouble getting it to create something. But Edie, I think you're right. It says it says something. I mean, it's definitely, you know that it's not the name that you gave the file. So you know, if you did happen to mess up and not save it correctly, or did something kind of weird, you know, you would know which one was the one that you were wanting, and so on and so forth. So. All right. Any questions on anything that we've covered so far? Okay. Last couple things here I want to go over, and I'll stop sharing here. Well, first of all, while I still have this screen pulled up, we can see here, as I told you, the white cloud there. That's my OneDrive personal kind of icon, or not kind of, but my OneDrive personal icon there. So if I ever pull this up and I see a little yellow exclamation point, that means that it's having problems with something. Some of the most common problems that I've seen are either you've reached your storage capacity, or a file name is too long, or that's really the only two that I've seen. I've not had any real issues with the OneDrive Personal. But if you do see a little yellow exclamation point, if you simply right-click on that, you can see it here. It's grayed out on mine because I don't have any. But if there is a little yellow exclamation point, you can click on the View Sync Problems, and it'll take you and show you which file it's actually having trouble with. Furthermore, inside of your OneDrive file, you will see a little, on the corner of these little folder icons, you may see a little yellow icon or a little red X or something like that. Those all indicate that there's something going on. So let's say you're in your OneDrive folder and you see a little red X on one of these folders. The first thing I would do would be go to your taskbar, pull up your task tray, right click on that little cloud icon, and then click on View Sync Problems. That most of the time that's going to walk you and direct you right to the file that has an issue. I don't know what the character limit is on OneDrive files, but there is a limit. You can't, you know, it's a lot of, if you're like me, I have subfolders upon subfolders upon subfolders. So I've had to go in and shorten some names and things like that. Not too often. I mean, it's pretty generous, but you still want to be aware of that. So that's a way to troubleshoot. Again, I'm not having any problems. There's not really anything that I can do to show you any of this. And lastly, as far as, I don't know if any of you guys are using smartphones or not, but there are free applications for Android and iOS and obviously Windows phones to where you can actually install the OneDrive application on your phone, which means you could have access to your files from your phone or tablets or anything like that. So literally anywhere you are, you could have access to your files, which is really great. I've used that a ton of pulling up files, and also on mobile devices, on phones, on devices that have the screen size of a phone, you can download or go to the App Store and install for free Microsoft Office, which it'll include Excel, PowerPoint, and Microsoft Word actually for your phone. Now, if you want to do that for your iPad for your iPad and Windows 8 tablet, you can get it on. I don't know about the Android tablets or the Amazon tab or Kindle tablets. I'm not sure that exists for them. But on the iPad, if you download the Microsoft Office and then put your Office 365 credentials in, which will be the same as your UTK email address and password, then you can edit files on your iPad and things like that. So that's really neat. I've found that to come in handy. Sometimes you can do that for free without putting your Office 365 information in on a phone, but once it gets past the largest phone screen size and moves to that tablet, they require an Office 365 subscription. So I've had that come in handy several times. So if you guys are interested in that, then that's available for you. So. But guys, that's really all I have. I'll open it up to some questions now. If you have any questions about OneDrive, I'll be glad to answer those for you. If not, then I appreciate your time this morning. Hopefully you got something out of it. Edie, do you have a question?
No, I think I was just going to tell you I thought that you had done a good job of covering all the general information, and as far as showing us how to get into it, that was one of the things I had. I was using the OneDrive, but I didn't know how to access it, and so that makes a big difference.
Well, good. I appreciate your comments, and it is. I mean, it's a pretty neat tool. I mean, I think that there's some application that we can use this with, and maybe make our lives a little more efficient. So, and the example you brought up was a perfect one. If we stored a document for those folks in SharePoint, they couldn't get to it because they don't have credentials. So this is a way that we can share those documents with folks that aren't within our system. So.
And then a lot of times too, they don't have the Microsoft product, so you have to send them a PDF. In most cases, I try to send only PDF out to clients, so this would be a way they could actually edit.
Yep, exactly. So, and I'm not sure, Edie, and this, I guess I should say this, when you send that to somebody, they may have to create, and it would be interesting to know if this is the case. And if you do this, I would be interested to know if they had to do this. They may have to create a Microsoft Office account, which really doesn't mean anything. I mean, you may have to help them. Some of our folks who may have to walk them through how to do that, but they may have to create a Microsoft account. Which really just involves, as long as they have an email address and they can create an account, they don't have to put a credit card or anything like that in there. But yeah, you may want to test that with somebody, Edie, somebody that doesn't have Microsoft on their computer. Send them a link to a Word document or something like that and see if they're able to open it up and edit it without a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard for us to find somebody like that because anybody I would send it to, I work with all you guys and you guys all have it. So, it's hard to tell. So, yeah.
When you're working with clients, though, sometimes you never know.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'd love to know what that behavior is, once you get a chance to send it to them. And if you don't mind, let me know how that works. And then I'll know, what to tell folks to expect on that.
Okay.
Or if anybody, for that matter, runs into this same kind of scenario, if you send it to somebody and they have to actually sign up for a Microsoft account prior to opening the online app. So, All right, folks. Well, that's all I have. If you think of another question after the fact, then just shoot me an email. I'll get this put on YouTube. Probably wait till after Friday's session and then get this thing put on YouTube, and I'll send the link out to everybody so that you can get to it whenever you may need to. Appreciate your time today.
It was a good training, Brad.
Oh,
Very intense. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.